The tides are changing as Mercury stations direct, but we are not out of the fray yet, since we have from Thursday, July 23rd, when Mercury technically stations direct, all the way through August 6th, when Mercury finally exits its shadow zone. So we will still have to expect glitches in the matrix, cancellations, schedule mix-ups, technical issues popping up through that time. But what makes this Mercury station more complex and powerful is that it occurs on the same day as the Sun in Leo squares Chiron newly in Taurus at 0 degrees and 48 minutes, as the Sun has just entered co-present with Jupiter in its own domicile, the sign of the courageous heart, Leo. And the day after Mercury stations direct, it gets a lovely sextile from Venus in Virgo, which of course is in her fall, but it's still Venus. And all this is happening, as you know, at the pinnacle of the basket, Pandora's box formation I've been talking about. You can see that video here, which makes it, again, no typical Mercury retrograde, including the shadow period. So what does this all mean? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Amy Rose White. I'm an integrative psychotherapist. I've been doing that almost 20 years. And I'm also a counseling astrologer, making videos on concrete self-healing tools that align with the astrological transits. Please see my description below for the links to my free resources, my Chiron in Taurus healing kit, and links to book the couple of spots I have left remaining in July, as well as my limited availability in August. So typically, a Mercury stationing direct in Cancer would mean that we've had a period of reflection around our relationships to our mothers, healing around our mother wounds, and a renewed sense of what nurturing and self-mothering actually looks like for us. Self-mothering is one of my favorite topics because it's an incredibly powerful form of reparenting and healing that's free and available to all of us. So essentially what that entails is a bit what it sounds like, which is learning to see ourselves as our first and most important baby, and to identify all the ways in which we attune or misattune to our own precious little selves. And that is not an easy task. It requires learning to be more sensitive to the body and our changing emotional life. So the body and the changing emotional life are the two main things that we tend to disconnect from and lack a relationship to out of survival necessity if we, even if our parents did the best that they could, did not have some of our core emotional and maybe even physical, spiritual, psychological needs met when we're little. So Mercury in Cancer brought us back to some of that felt, Cancer, water, felt material that we might have had to disassociate from when we're small. And with Mercury in the sign that Jupiter just spent a year in, digging up old karmic injuries around, and hopefully departed, leaving us with more insight and wisdom and a sense of understanding around, because that's really Jupiter's goal: clarity, wisdom, and order out of disorder, which Cancer can feel really chaotic because there's so much fluctuation with its ruler, the moon. Then at this time that Mercury stationing direct, it might allow us to see our own patterns of mothering ourselves and our children with more compassion and love and wisdom. However, here we are emerging from the murky waters of Cancer and the changing emotions that probably accompanied that, because of course Mercury, the mind, are intrinsically linked, and those might have been wildly fluctuating during this time. Then that same day we meet the Sun in Leo, where it's very strong. It's the sign of its domicile, making that immediate square to Chiron newly in Taurus. And what does this bring up? The father. So we go from matrilineal, intergenerational mother wounding and traumas that we've probably been reflecting on, or at least seeing patterns in the collective where there's an invitation for change to be made in those patterns. So we go from this natural focus on maternal themes, intergenerational matrilineal traumas, reflecting on those patterns in our own lives and the collective, right to the invitation for change to be made and the patterns related to our own ability to shine our light brightly in the world and be a present solar figure for ourselves, which is likely to bring up whether it felt physically safe to do that, Taurus, when we were young. So I've talked a lot about the fear of shining brightly before. The Sun squaring Chiron at the time of the station is really going to highlight anywhere that is still directly or indirectly challenged in our worlds. That could be in our psyches or actually in our relationships with our fathers, solar figures, authority figures, bosses, maybe even celebrities that we might aspire to be like, or we have an affinity for, or we've put them on a pedestal that, are suddenly falling down. And remember, this will be seen on the world stage because Sun square Chiron and this Mercury station is happening exactly within the perfection of the basket formation, which is culminating with Jupiter opposing Pluto just a couple days prior from Leo to Aquarius at 4 degrees and 26 minutes. So that is really dark versus light, good versus evil. See my Jupiter-Pluto opposition video here. And to name one example, the arrest of Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan. So I don't want to give them any more publicity than they've already had, because I want to put the focus on the survivors that made that arrest possible. Because basically, doing this does not serve abuse survivors in any tangible way. To pursue civil litigation when criminal charges have been dropped, despite overwhelming evidence, it takes a leonine, courageous heart to be willing to do that, to face that gauntlet, both through the accounting of traumatic memory, the financial resources involved, the knowledge that they'll be slandered, often not believed, names made public, all the bad things that typically happen to sexual abuse, assault, and trafficking survivors. So this is one example of how that basket formation is emboldening people to come forward with truth, dissolving illusions that we have around men in the social media space and the celebrity ethos, politicians, etc., where the light is shown on the darkness, Jupiter and Pluto facing off. And remember that Pluto's gift is actually to reveal secrets. Secrets don't stay secret long during a Pluto transit. And I think Pluto in Aquarius is moving faster. Pluto is very slow moving. Obviously, it takes 70 to 20-ish years per sign. But in Aquarius, as an air sign compared to Capricorn, Earth, information is coming more quickly. And Jupiter is literally bringing a magnifying glass. Sherlock Holmes is very Plutonian energy, and Jupiter's truth. So the concept of justice, Jupiterian, and hopefully tangible results of prosecution and litigation in a way that justice will be actually served. Now, it remains to be seen in this particular case, of course, whether that's going to be true, but the archetypal tension symbolized by people who are known to have no qualms about discussing their misogynist views, meaning women-hating views. And if you hate women, you hate children because you're talking about the power of creation. If you're espousing misogynist speech, violating the creative principle, that is feminine archetypal energy, and speaking openly about defiling it. So I'm only emphasizing these particular people who I obviously have strong feelings about because it's so emblematic of the Jupiter-Pluto opposition and the continuation of themes around healing, wounding, injuries, and solar figures. Man, the sun in the chart is often father or the masculine archetype. And so we're going to continue to see that for the next 17 or 18 more years that we have Pluto transiting that sign. But this moment of the Mercury retrograde stationing Sun square Chiron, Jupiter-Pluto opposition is happening days before. I think it's a week before the North Node shifts signs, joins Pluto, and the South Node joins Jupiter and co-present short-term with the Sun. So collective angst around power and control structures and abuse of power against vulnerable people is going to have the force of goodness, Jupiter, working against it for the next year and a half, for the next 18 months, with the North Node emphasizing that picking back up of power and in its highest expression, stepping out of that slumber, out of that sleep I've been talking about, out of that mass psychosis, group think, out of our tendency to put belonging to the group and group cohesion and affiliation above our own sense of right and wrong, above our own integrity. That's kind of a human nature thing to do. It's a vulnerability that's stronger for certain people more than others. But a higher objective of Aquarius can be breaking out of that And a lower objective can be absolutely joining that group. And that's what, Tate was really good at capitalizing on. He could use the language, Mercury, the speech to target a specific group, vulnerable young men, and embolden them to blame their problems on women specifically. So this moment at the station is peak energy focused on those things, highlighting what will we do to protect ourselves first before others. What does it mean to protect our homes and the people in them? What are we not willing to do anymore to protect ourselves because it's harming ourselves and others? And, the people, those women that are pursuing this civil litigation with Tate are more vulnerable now that they're essentially not protecting themselves. What are they doing that for? Obviously, I don't know these people. I can't really speak for them, but it feels very Pluto in Aquarius. It's for the greater good. It's to advance the safety of women and children on the planet. It's to highlight where it is time to untangle ourselves from the lowest octave of Plutonian forces: secrecy, sexual secrets, sexual force, control, dominance, domination, which is not about sexual attraction or sexuality at all, but about exclusively power and control. So our minds are now likely to be focused on how we seek power and control in our own lives, because we all do it. And where we've given away our power, how we use power and control in effective versus ineffective ways in our own lives, and where we need to be in better and more integrity with ourselves and others. With the sun in Leo squaring Chiron, it's time to put ourselves in the limelight. It's time to say the thing, write the post, write the letter. Maybe you don't send it. Maybe you burn it. Fiery Leo. Maybe you bury it in the earth, Chiron and Taurus. Maybe that's the healing thing for you. But a sun in Leo co-present now with Jupiter, which is about to form a cazimi, meaning conjunction by the sun, where Jupiter gets its special meeting in the heart of the sun and is thus reinvigorated. That means that the rest of the transit of Jupiter in Leo, a whole nother year, joined soon by the South Node, is going to be a reborn Jupiter, because Jupiter is getting reborn in the heart of the sun's kingdom. That is a very brave Jupiter. That's an incredible attorney that has integrity. That's a wise teacher that comes into your life. That's a new male figure that helps heal and provide a father or grandfather energy in your life that you never had. So if there's something that needed to be said to a male figure in your life, if there's a man in your life that could be a healing force and maybe you've been avoiding or resisting or ignoring, Sun square Chiron can be the invitation to return the email, to pick up the phone, to send the text, to book the retreat. I saw a male therapist on Instagram the other day at a retreat for all Black male therapists only, and it was clearly such an amazing rejuvenating experience for him. And I thought, this is the kind of healing, Pluto, Jupiter, and the basket formation that men need in the world, especially men of color, and doing therapy. It also made me really want to create an astrological retreat for therapists. So I'll get to working on that. Let me know in the comments if you have any interest in that. In any case, more and more energy is just culminating as we finish out this month. We've got a Saturn that's about to station retrograde. I'll make a video on that. We have Sun-Pluto opposition coming up. We've got a full moon conjunct Pluto next week, and this Jupiter cazimi in the heart of the sun, and the nodes changing, all before July is over. So there's going to be a lot more to talk about. But for this week, while this basket is perfecting and all these other aspects are shifting direction, highlighting where change must happen, this is what I want you to meditate on. These are the 3 M's for this week, this series of transits. So reflect on, where have I gained clarity on how I could better reparent myself right now? Your mirror work for the transit is, remember, deep breath, straight spine, look in your left eye, spend a few minutes here. I'm willing to show up for you and be the mother and the father that you needed now. And your mantra for the transit is, my healed inner child shines brightly now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for liking, for hyping, for sharing the video. Every subscription counts to me. If you're already subscribed and you like and you comment, I love reading them. I so appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Check out my free resources below. If you like this video, you'll enjoy these ones above me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.